Mixed martial arts. Mixed martial arts. How do we like our martial arts? We like them mixed!
What if we don't just like them mixed? What if we like them with the goat? Maybe the goat? I don't know. What the hell is going on? Because some of these martial arts this weekend, they shan't be mixed. They will be completely separated to the thrill and love of our good friend Alexander K. Lee. Because, of course, some of the martial arts this weekend are boxing. And some of the martial arts are, in fact, mixed martial arts. And we're talking about both of them, ladies and gentlemen, because it is the Canelo versus Crawford / Noche UFC preview show. Let's get into it, boys and girls. Hello, my name is Jed Meshew. I'm a writer for MMAfighting.com. It's a great website. And you know the deal by now. We're here to talk some fist fights this weekend because there's a whole lot of them. The biggest weekend in combat sports thus far in 2025. One more sleep, 24-ish hours. I think actually very close to 24 hours from now, the fights will start. And it's going to be a hell of a time. And so here to talk about all those with me. We talked yesterday on Between the Links, but we're going to do it again. A little less combative, perhaps. The great, the wonderful, the boxing aficionado extraordinaire, the man on the ground all the time, though not this weekend, but in our hearts, certainly, Mr. Jose Youngs. Jose, how we doing?
I'm great. Packers cooked up. Jalen Daniels, so it's a very good night. The Red Sox are about to have a incredibly pivotal series against the Yankees, which should determine the wild card. So there's a lot going on internally, but I'm very excited for some fist fights against two of the greatest of all time.
Yeah, Packers are winning the Super Bowl. That was my takeaway from last night.
One
So
can
congratulations. Congratulations for you. It's a terrific win. Just go ahead and pencil that in. And also joining us on the ones and twos, you heard him already. You heard him with the GOAT, frankly, and he is boots on the ground over there in Las Vegas, Nevada for the Canelo Crawford fight. Mr. 3024 himself. No sleeves, no mercy. Casey Lyden.
I have sleeves.
Oh,
I have
there's
sleeves.
Sleeves and mercy.
Yeah. But I'm in a wonderful Fairfield Inn, just a stone's throw away from Allegiant Stadium. So apparently there's some Netflix boxing tomorrow. But the sleeves. So if you're wondering, I got a memo from the higher ups that I need to look a little more professional. So sleeves. They wanted sleeves. So here we are.
Wow. I mean, that's don't like it.
That hotel, the Fairfield Inn, is where I got COVID tests every single Apex card during the pandemic. I would have to drive from Phoenix to there, get something shoved in my nose, wait around for a negative test, and then I could leave a hotel room. That hotel brings back some strange memories for me.
Sounds really, really fun. Casey, pop back on because we're about to get into all this. But since you are boots on the ground, I'd like to start with you here because we're going to start talking Canelo Crawford. I think it's the biggest fight of the weekend, certainly. No disrespect to the Noche UFC, but we'll get into it. It's kind of a bad Noche as far as the Noches have gone. And this is the biggest star in boxing taking on one of the three biggest pound-for-pound fighters in that sport. It feels bigger. We're going to talk about it first. Boots on the ground, Casey. What is the vibe in Las Vegas? Because I'm going to, in just a moment, have a question for Jose about kind of how he's feeling the energy sort of surrounding this event as we head into it. But boots on the ground, what are things like there?
Different. It doesn't. Okay, now we're recording this before the actual ceremonial weigh-ins. So it's
correct.
I'm gonna have a little bit of a grasp of kind of the fanfare behind it, but right now it just feels like a big pay-per-view. It doesn't feel football stadium. I don't know why. I don't know if it's the Riyadh season thing. I don't know if it's just kind of the general feeling of the country and kind of the economics of Las Vegas right now. But Vegas is very expensive. just the foot traffic I've seen and being in the casinos on the Strip. I mean, it's not a ghost town, but it is. It feels like it's a Monday on a very off week. Nothing. It does not. It doesn't feel. It's not there. I don't know. The hype isn't there on the boots on the ground. I don't know around the whole country, but like it just feels. I don't want to say. It's not there. It's not there. I don't get it. I'm very excited about the fight, but. And I don't know. I mean, I watched the countdown shows and stuff. I thought they were very well done and everything. Kind of a fake storyline a bit, but in general, just I don't know. It's just this has been a really odd fight week. Very odd fight week. It is. No, I guess compared to the last Netflix stadium card, which is I guess would be Paul Tyson. This feels much different. I mean, I felt Taylor Serrano was 3 in New York felt bigger than this, but that's right now. That's before the big kind of the ceremonial weigh-ins. But right now, I don't know. It's not. I don't know. It's I don't know how you feel. It doesn't feel like the biggest card that these two giant pay-per-view mega stars are fighting. It just feels like two dudes fighting. That's important. I don't know. It doesn't feel like nothing. Don't have a good answer for you.
No, that's kind of why I wanted that. No, that is the answer, because that's the answer I wanted, because it does feel a little bit like that to me as well. Jose, I don't know if you are having similar experience. This has cleared the mom test, I think, in part just because it's on Netflix. My friends have reached out about it. They have seen it as a thing that's happening, and they know who Canelo is. Maybe a couple of them know who Terence Crawford is. And so it's a curious space in that it has reached beyond just the hardcore fight fan base, certainly, but it still doesn't. I mean, this does not remotely have the fanfare, the appeal that Jake Paul, Mike Tyson did. I don't think anyone would expect it to, but kind of how are you getting on in your casual life? Are people pumped about this? Like because this does feel really quiet given the magnitude of what is going to be happening on Saturday.
I'm the wrong one to ask when it comes to if family is asking about this fight, because it's Canelo and my Mexican family, they tune in. They asked me about Canelo. They asked me about Brandon Moreno. Those are the two people, and Raul Rosas Jr. Those are the 3 fighters they pretty much asked me about, because they have kind of captivated that marketplace, obviously. But in terms of like my non-Brown family, no, 0 people have asked me about this at all. Even in New York, I see a couple billboards. I see a couple of things on like the like when you're walking down the street, and now they have these virtual stands where you can charge your phones, and there's a digital ad that changes like every few minutes. I've seen the fight on there, but outside of that, Taylor Serrano had way more billboards, obviously because it was in New York City. But in terms of hype, it's there in the boxing world, obviously, but there's no crossover. I don't think there's any sort of crossover whatsoever. I think that has a little bit to do with people still a little skeptical of Turkey and his intentions, the whole TKO thing. I think the boxing world takes less of a shine to Dana White than even the MMA world at this point. Anything you post about Dana and boxing gets a lot of negative reaction from boxing fans, or positive, depending on if he says something dumb that's very like they're laughing at him rather than being angry. So it's like, oh, this guy's just an idiot. So stuff like that. It's just not there. The magnitude, because Crawford is an unbelievable fighter. He's never been a big draw. Canelo is a big draw, but like we talked about on BTL, there's a fight in the Benavidez fight that should be happening. So this feels, and like I also said at BTL, Canelo was so dismissive of this fight for so long that when it finally got made, he told us for years that he didn't care. So why should we care? If you didn't care for X amount of years and all of a sudden you got paid a bunch of money to take the fight, and now all of a sudden you care, we can tell you're taking the fight because it's a lot of money. And that doesn't generate as much interest as, say, fighting someone like Benavidez or back when you fought the Triple Gs of the world. So it's not there. I'm sure it'll do well because it's on Netflix, like we talked about. It'll probably do 50, maybe 40 million, but it's not going to touch Jake Paul, Mike Tyson. Everyone knows who Jake Paul is. Everyone knows who Mike Tyson is. Mike Tyson's like one of the 7 most famous athletes in the world, and he hasn't he had what 20 years between pro bouts, and he's still Mike Tyson and is still probably the most famous boxer alive right now, and he's just fought Jake Paul.
Oh, almost certainly.
Yeah, almost certainly. So I don't know. It's there for me. To respond to what Casey was saying, that Vegas just kind of feels like a ghost town. Like the mayor of Las Vegas already put out like a plea to Canada to come visit because tourism has like been slashed in half over the last X amount of years, just based on what's going on climate-wise in the United States, the political climate. So it feels like every time I go to Vegas for a UFC event, it's less and less crowded and less hype. And you can kind of tell, like, even when fans line up for the UFC event, for free ceremonial weigh-ins, the lines are getting real short, a lot shorter than they used to be. And we can't even blame the heat, because I saw people pass out waiting in line just to go see a free weigh-in, and now you'll get maybe 100 people waiting to go in. It's a weird time in Vegas all around, not just for combat sports, but overall. So, but in terms of watching it from afar, the hype is there for me, but there's zero crossover from my friends that don't watch boxing.
You mentioned it. So like how excited are your family members who are invested in Canelo then? Are they just
Very excited.
the same they are with any Canelo fight? Are they elevated because this feels more meaningful? Sort of where are we at that way?
They're excited because they don't have to pay for it. That's literally what it comes down to.
Hey, no problem with that.
No,
I understand that
like,
excitement.
They would be excited for Canelo to begin with, but they're like, oh, we don't have to pay for it, and he's fighting someone that is very good at boxing. Like, they're going to tune in regardless. It's a big deal whenever he fights anytime. The fact that you chuck it on Netflix and you can watch a movie, watch the fights, and then go back to your movie, like, they're all over the moon at that. So that aspect of putting Canelo Crawford on free TV has certainly drummed up a lot more interest, I would hazard, because people that are going to be watching anyway are even that much more excited. But yeah, Canelo is obviously Christ incarnate to Mexico, so he's going to sell no matter what.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just been weird because like I've never had this experience where like people know it's happening and they don't care, or it feels so, the energy is so strange. And I think it is, I think you touched on a lot of points. Canelo doesn't even care. And like, that's at the presser, outside of you being like correctly pointing out how Canelo downplayed this, at like, he hasn't showed up for all the media stuff at the presser. He's not like invested. He's like, oh yeah, like the most energy that Canelo had at yesterday's presser was when Max Kellerman was being real, and Canelo was like, Max, calm down. Dana's not going to save boxing. Boxing's just fine. It was like the only time there's any real life in Canelo at all this whole week. A very, very, very strange, given sort of the magnitude of this. And Jose, I do want to shift into that magnitude, because I mean, we talked yesterday, and I think it's pretty obvious that Canelo has more to lose here than Terence Crawford does. Crawford is coming up 2 weight classes, really 3 weight classes. Like, if we're being honest about it, I know he fought Madrimov, but like that was 1 fight. This is a 3 weight class bump. He has sort of a lot of built-in explanations should things not go his way. But the other side of the coin here is kind of, what does each guy gain with a win? Terence Crawford obviously gains a massive amount with a win, but the question for him is, how much does a win mean for his overall legacy, et cetera? He would become the first 3-division undisputed champion in men's boxing during the 4-belt era. Clarissa Shields, the only other person to do that in women's boxing, versus Canelo. What does a win mean for Canelo? I guess let's start there. Does it mean anything, frankly?
Yeah, I mean, it means something in the sense, like, we all know, like, what you laid out, like, coming up to basically 3 weight classes, a smaller guy coming up. This is like, what did Bivol get when he beat Canelo? Same thing. It's essentially that. Like, he becomes, like, he's like, Canelo's already a household name. He's like one of the 3 most popular boxers in the world, but we understand that this is like, weight classes matter, and we understand that if Canelo goes out there and is just the bigger guy, and we see something like Conor Nate 1, where Conor could be unbelievable fighter and Nate is just bigger, or Canelo could theoretically just be a better boxer than Bivol. Bivol was just bigger, and that's just what it comes down to. If Canelo does that, we'd be like, yeah, of course that happens. But to the mass people, like we've all, like for the people that are tuning in that don't know who Terence Crawford is, because long has Terence Crawford been labeled as a guy that is unbelievable fighter that doesn't sell. This might be the first time they get to see Terence Crawford. And if you're just being spoon-fed one of, if not the greatest boxers on planet Earth, undefeated, has never come close to losing a fight. Like, he has never had one of those wars where it's like, oh, could he have lost like Canelo's had against Triple G? Like, Crawford has made every single fight basically look easy. He had the dud against Madrimov, but like, he was also kind of fighting a bigger guy. And that was his first fight in a long time. To the casual audience, Canelo beating someone with that resume and what they're trying to build Crawford up as is massive, obviously, because that's just another notch. Like beating Triple G, beating Terence Crawford, beating guys that are going to go down in boxing lore. In 40 years from now, we're not going to be talking about, oh, Terence Crawford went up 2 weight classes and lost to Canelo. We're going to talk about Canelo has Terence Crawford on his resume. So it's a massive thing right there. Like, name-wise, it's in the boxing world, it might not get better than beating Terence Crawford. Like, realistically, like, obviously beating Usyk would be big, and if someone beats Usyk and someone beats Inoue, massive. But right now, and for this weight class, Crawford might be the best name boxing-wise that you could have on your resume.
That really is the thing, though, right? Jose is like, yeah, right now, we know, everybody is aware right now of what, okay, he's got a 20-pound weight advantage. So he's actually, doesn't seem like he's going to look much bigger than him. Canelo's never been like a super tall guy. Terence Crawford obviously is. And so like he might look a little bigger, but in their face-offs, they've looked comparatively. So casuals will not really notice the huge gap in weight here. And in 10, 15, 20 years, is Benavidez is that the name that stands out on your resume, or is Terence Crawford a future first ballot Hall of Famer? This is, I think this is one of those ones that as time happens and things just sort of get naturally flattened out a little bit more, it'll be like, oh yeah, this is a terrific win to have on the resume should he get it. On the other end of things, if Crawford wins, where does that put him? Right? Like what is, like, he's already a Hall of Famer. He's been saying it this week, and that's true. He's already arguably the top pound for pound fighter on the sport. I think undeniably he wins this fight, he moves up to number 1 pound for pound. I don't think anyone frankly would dispute that, but like historically, what does that do for, like, I don't even know where he would go after this. It's such a kind of beyond the pale thing to consider.
It's like, I don't know if like Crawford will probably jump to number 1, because the 3 I mentioned, Usyk, Inoue, Crawford, basically whoever fights and wins just takes the number 1 spot. And then the next one wins. It's just kind of a rinse and repeat, because I was very high. Like, I thought Bud Crawford was the number 1 pound for pound fighter in the world. And then Usyk beat Tyson Fury. And I was like, well, no, Usyk is the best. And then Inoue wins. I'm like, no, he's the best. So it's like, it just kind of feels like a rotation among those 3 of whoever just had the most recent fight. Now, if Crawford goes up, skips multiple weight classes and cooks Canelo and makes it look like he did against Errol Spence, he's number 1 pound for pound, and he's probably there for a bit, because outside of Usyk, I don't know who Usyk could, because Usyk's not going to fight anyone that has the same resume.
There's nothing Usyk can do. It's Inoue is the only buddy who could chase him down at that point.
Yeah, exactly. If Crawford wins, he's going to go. That is like etch your name in boxing history. And Crawford's already said there's no rematch clause. Like, he demanded a no rematch clause because he didn't want excuses from Canelo. He didn't want, oh, I had a bad camp and now I'll be better for the rematch. Like, no, this is it, according to Crawford. If Crawford wins, I bet they go to the money talks. Apparently, we heard Turkey say, like,
sure does.
Canelo gets like more than 100 million or something like that. Like, there you go. Like, but if Crawford wins in this hypothetical, or Crawford beats Canelo and then he beats him in the rematch, who do you fight after that? Jake Paul, you do the freak show Mike Tyson Mayweather fights. Like, it's never gonna, like, Crawford doesn't strike me as a guy that would do that. He's very much, this is legacy, this is history. I'm here for, to prove my doubters wrong. I don't want him to retire. I think he's awesome. It would be sick if he fought Benavidez. That'd be very funny. But I don't think that's going to happen either.
That would be incredible. He would also look cartoonishly small.
Yeah, he would. He really would.
But I don't
know.
Be so sick.
If Crawford wins, this is going to be, if Crawford, because I keep saying if Crawford wins, but he's arguably pound for pound number one in the world. Like, I'm not saying this is not a underdog rocky moment for Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford has done what he's done every fight. He's number one pound for pound and one of the greatest of all time. If Canelo loses, he's still one of the greatest of all time. It will look very bad for Canelo if a guy comes up 2 weight classes, and we'll talk about this later when we start breaking down the fight. If Canelo looks very bad against Terence Crawford, that's going to do a lot of damage to a lot, and his legacy is going to be damaged a lot, especially towards the end of his career.
Yeah, the thing, I really want Crawford to win just because I don't know what this looks like if he wins. Because this is the biggest fight he can ever have, right? There is no Canelo's the biggest star in the sport. And so his legacy is already solidified. I don't know, screw it. Fight Usyk, I guess. Let's just see, I suppose, because there's no, outside of a big money rematch, why would you continue to fight? There is nothing else. You could only, put a bad point to your career when inevitably you lose. It's so fascinating if Terence Crawford can pull this off, and he has, one of the best fighters on the whole planet. So maybe he can do it. Let's talk a little bit about the matchup before we get into predictions. And specifically, I have a very clear read on this fight that I've had since it was announced, since it's been talked about, but I'm interested in yours. And basically, if you got to know one piece of information heading in, if you just had one question that you could answer, what is it about this main event? What are you looking to get resolved on Saturday night when these two step in?
I think, like I said, we've never really had that Terence has been clipped before, but he's so much better than he's so much more skilled than all of the opponents. And I say that with all the respect to all the guys who's fought. Terence has just made a lot of high-level boxers look like easy work. Canelo hits very hard, and his pace is relentless. And lately, he's been showing a lot more being able to make adjustments on the fly when, his athleticism and power just don't get him across the finish line quite as easily as he did in his early days. I think the question I have is the question everybody has. We've seen Crawford take punches and keep going. Can he do that against the Canelo, who Canelo has this Crawford is very skilled boxer. Canelo is a puncher, and I compared Ilya's punching style to Canelo, where Canelo tries to punch the wall behind you when he punches you. And he does that with every punch. It's not snapping. It's, I'm going to put my fist behind you, and your body just happens to be in the way, or your face, or your skull. If he throws a lot of those types of punches at Crawford's body, eventually people break because their arms hurt or their livers hurt. That's why Bivol had success, because Canelo was fighting a guy that was bigger than him that could take those punches. And then once Canelo realized he was fighting a guy that is not going to break and open up, was a bad night for him. I think that is the biggest X factor in this entire thing. Is we saw Crawford. Madrimov was a big guy. He had a lot of moments in there, but Madrimov was not setting up he was not sitting down on his punches. I think he respected Crawford's strength and ability a little too much, that he was throwing a lot of punches with no setup, and he was landing. Canelo is not that. Crawford isn't going to be able to fight with that wide stance, that jab on the back foot against Canelo. Canelo is going to be in your face and try to punch behind you. And if that happens, I think we'll talk about predictions later, but I think I don't know what it's called, props or whatever, what's going to happen in a fight. I don't know what the odds are of Crawford getting dropped. I think this could be the fight we see Crawford get dropped, because Canelo is going to sneak one through, and he hits a lot harder than Crawford has ever faced before. Crawford might be the more skilled boxer. The weight classes are there for a reason, and Canelo is kind of a beast unto himself.
So I do have the odds for Crawford getting dropped. It's plus 180 right now. So not quite 2-1.
Is that good?
But still the bookmakers seem to think it is some level of unlikely. More likely than not that he does not get dropped per the odds functionally.
Fair.
And I think, just given his history, that seems right? Just assume. But yeah. I got to tell you, my big question for this is I don't have any idea how Terence Crawford intends to fight Canelo, because I've thought a lot about like how to do it, and I don't know what to do. He is a boxing genius, so I'm sure he'll have many ideas what to do, because I'm not a boxing genius, but he is giving up a substantial amount of physicality and size, and had some struggles with Madrimov in that regard, and Canelo, he ain't Madrimov. And at some point, I don't know how early I anticipate Canelo figuring this out, but the thing is that Canelo has a legendary chin, just uncrackable. So it's not like the small, quick dude can even crack him. That doesn't seem feasible. And so if I'm in Canelo's corner, or I'm like, all right, I'm just going to walk into you and hit you, and you could hit me, and that's fine. But you have to stand up to what I can bring to bear here. And you're not Bivol. You don't outweigh me by 20 pounds. You're stuck in here with me. And I don't know how Terence Crawford works around that. It is the biggest question is how he is going to fight this. Is he going to try and be on his bike the whole time? That does, like you said, that seems pretty tough to pull off against Canelo. Is he just going to stand and trade and see what happens? I don't know. I'm fascinated to find out on Saturday.
I think there is a very high chance this is a dud fight. Canelo, I don't think 100%. If Canelo hurts Crawford, the risk outweighs the reward. Knocking out Crawford, okay, great. Canelo knocks out the smaller guy. Canelo smells blood, rushes in, overzealous, which he did early in his career. I don't think that's going to happen now. The fact that there's no rematch clause, I think Canelo takes this so seriously that he's going to try to mitigate risk at every opportunity, that even if he hurts Bud, he's not going to go for blood, because he's like, something might happen. Bud is really good, but also gets punched a lot in the early rounds. And then once he gets that timing, it's smooth sailing for him. Bud Crawford is not Floyd Mayweather. Canelo has arguably the best counter punches in boxing. Bud is unbelievable. I just think Canelo is just the bigger dude. I just think he's the bigger guy. I do think that this could be a Charlo, the Charlo fight, where he was on his bike because he didn't want to take those. He knew he was fighting the bigger guy. He's like, I can't take the punches I can't coming up. This could be a similar fight, I think.
I have thought that this fight really has a big opportunity to be boring. I hope I am wrong, but let's get into the predictions here, because we're not going to talk about any other fight on this card. We don't care. I think that this is a boxing card in essence, constructed for one fight. The odds makers have Canelo Alvarez as your betting favorite. Our friends at FanDuel minus 182 for Saul Alvarez. The comeback on Terence Crawford plus 142. The round props here. Let me find the round props here. What is our over total rounds in the fight? The over under 11.5 minus 370 for the over. So thinking it goes long certainly makes sense to me. I'll just say, because we've already basically gave it away, I'm picking Canelo Alvarez. I'm picking him with a pretty high level of confidence, not because I think he's a better boxer than Terence Crawford. I don't think he is. Technically, I don't believe there is a superior boxer in the whole widest of worlds to Bud Crawford. But this man is I wrote earlier this week, in the simplest way I can break it down, he is coming up functionally from 147 to 168. I would be real confident in picking Jack Della Maina against Alexander Volkanovski. That's kind of what's happening here. I'm going to pick the bigger dude, who is also, if Canelo sucked, maybe, but Canelo is also a world-class boxer and substantially larger. So give me Canelo Alvarez. I don't know if he gets the stoppage, but I think it's a comfortable Canelo win.
I think if he gets the stop, it's going to come around 8 or 9. Also, I would agree with you. I would also pick Canelo by decision in a city he historically gets a lot of decisions go his way, even if he doesn't deserve them. So I'm the biggest Canelo fan you'll meet on this website, and I can admit there are a few of those fights that Canelo should not have a W next to his name, especially I think both Triple G, the first 2 Triple G fights, Triple G won.
The first one, nobody on earth thinks he won the first one. The second one, I'm open to Canelo having won. The first one, not at all.
I also agree. I wasn't covering the sport at the time, so I was like, "Oh yeah, Canelo won." And then, like, as I watched it over there, I'm like, "That's a lot closer than I thought." Oh, did Triple G actually win the fight? Oh, I think Triple G actually won that fight. And then the sad third
first one, Triple G got
like 100. I remember the second one. My dad was like, "There's a real world that Triple G is 2-0 against Canelo right now." I'm like, "You might be right. That's not a 1-1." But I also think Canelo by this decision. I kept seeing people say Canelo by 4th round TKO. I don't think that's remotely going to happen. I think Bud Crawford is way too good to be finished in the first chunk of rounds.
The only way I could see that happening is if Bud is like, "Okay, I'm going to go toe to toe with him. This is going to be
maybe." I would love that.
If he does, and they just start swinging. Okay.
I don't care who wins this fight. I'm gonna watch this unbiased down the middle. As a fan, that would be a lot of fun. But I don't think that's gonna happen.
I don't believe it will either. But the only way that a stoppage like that is happening is Bud's like, "All right, well, let's just fight in the middle and see what happens."
Also, someone made the argument to me that Crawford losing would be good for boxing, not in the aspect of like Canelo's the big deal, but it shows that you can, like, especially in American boxing, like that O in your record is so sacred, and I think we all agree that that's a little nonsensical. Like, you don't have to be undefeated to be an all-time legend. Manny Pacquiao is the perfect example. Muhammad Ali, same thing. If he goes out there and loses and looks unbelievable and just shows that you can take the risk of your O against the best of the best, I'm hoping we see more of that. I don't agree with the wording of Crawford losing is best for boxing, but I think it could be a good step in. You don't have to protect that O. You can strive for legendary status and not just retire undefeated. Because I respect Crawford so much. He could have retired after the Spence win and rode off into the sunset, got the best win of his career, and stayed undefeated. And he's like, "Fuck that! I want to fight the baddest dude 2 weight classes above me," because legacy is important. I think legacy isn't about protecting those; it's about who you dared to fight. And I hope Crawford doing this opens the door for more of this moving forward.
Jose Young's avowed supporter of daring to be great. That's what I'm taking from this. And I don't.
That being said, Canelo by decision.
Yeah, Canelo by decision as well. I don't know what would be better for boxing. What will be good for boxing is that this fight doesn't suck. Correct. Like that is it. Like that this fight is competitive and fun, because you are going to get people tuning in that aren't, the amount of people who tuned into the Tyson Jake Paul thing and then we're like, well, that actually sucked. That's not real boxing, so I don't know how much it hurt boxing, but it didn't help boxing. And people doing that again, this fight hopefully will at least be good, because I'm pretty excited. I'm pretty interested in it, however it ends up shaking out.
Rules.
But we've got other things to talk about. Most notably, Noche UFC 3, aka just Noche UFC. We're not adding numbers to it. The worst of the Noches, if we're being frank, in San Antonio, Texas. We went from the Sphere to San Antonio. Originally, this was supposed to be in Guadalajara, and that honestly would make this way cooler if it was, frankly. But some struggles with the arena ended up getting pushed to Guadalajara. Our main event, Jose, Diego Lopes taking on my boy Jean Silva in a featherweight fight. I mean, let's just dive right into it. I've gotten this question a lot this week. I answered it in the mailbag column that I think is already out, but I'm not entirely sure. Obviously, a disparity in this main event, Jose. Diego Lopes coming off a loss, Jean Silva on a 5-fight winning streak in the promotion. Diego Silva just fought for the belt. If Jean Silva wins, can he leapfrog presumptively Lerone Murphy to get the first crack at Alexander Volkanovski's newly won featherweight title?
I mean, he could. I don't think he will, but he
How
absolutely
what
could.
does it have to look like for him to suddenly be the guy fighting? Because that fight is not booked. There's a lot of rumors about Volk versus Lerone Murphy is targeted or worked on. Nothing is set in stone, and frankly, I think there's a reason nothing has been confirmed because I think they are waiting to see what happens here. What does it have to look like for Jean Silva to suddenly be the dude?
If he goes out there and knocks out Diego in the first round, I guess if he does what the champion couldn't do, if he does what Movzar couldn't do, because Diego's only lost to Volk. I'm not counting Ilya, and I'm not counting Max because they're very good featherweights. I would obviously Volk has beaten Max a lot of times. Volk is the best featherweight in the world. There's an argument that Movzar is the second best featherweight in the world. There's a world where Movzar's the best featherweight in the world. He just hasn't had the opportunity.
We'll just
Those are the
never
only two
know.
guys that Diego. Yeah, those are the two guys that Diego Lopes has lost to. So if Jean Silva can go out there and do what, arguably the two best featherweights in the world weren't able to do, sure, I think we could get that. I also think there's, a world where the UFC, we've seen it enough times where we'll talk about it on Tuesday. And after this fight, I'm talking about Canelo Crawford. The UFC has a big break, and I bet they start to book a whole lot of fights and announce a whole lot of things. They also don't want to announce fights out of order, so they very rarely announce a December fight before they announce the November fight, even if it is booked. I still think Lerone Murphy has done enough to get it. Volkanovski already said, see you in December. Dana White famously says, I'm not making fights right now, said, I love it. So where there's smoke, there's fire. But if in this world, Jean Silva goes out there and beats Diego Lopes in round one, sure. He could absolutely. There is a world where he could leapfrog Lerone Murphy. Unjustly, I would say. I think Lerone Murphy has done enough because you know damn well if Aaron Pico 30-25 Lerone Murphy in a wrestle-heavy fight, he would be fighting Volkanovski. So if Lerone Murphy knocks that person out with one of the best knockouts of the year, he should get the title shot. Especially because he took that fight on short notice, did the UFC a favor. Yeah, I guess Jean Silva. Yeah, Jean Silva could. I don't think he will, though. But first round knockout, sure. Let's talk about it.
I think as long as it's an impressive win, he is the leader. He is in the driver's seat because they haven't announced that fight yet. They could. I know they've been waiting in general for stuff, but if he comes out of this unscathed and it is a first round knockout, if he does get a finish at all, if it's impressive, because ultimately I think the thing that hurts Lerone Murphy, it's not his fault. He stepped in on short notice and that's great. He beat an unranked dude and casually was awesome and had a lot of momentum, but he went first. And going first is the problem because this is a what have you done for me now sport. And the thing more people will remember is the main event of the Noche card. And so if he goes and beats Diego Lopes convincingly, as long as the timelines work, he gets out uninjured, I think Jean Silva is the next guy because Volk doesn't care. Volk will fight. Volk fights anyone. He doesn't. It's not like he's dying to fight Murphy. And either way, whoever doesn't get it, they're going to be the backup fighter for that fight, assuming it happens in December. Yeah. That's just how this will all shake out. The other side of the ball here, though, Jose, Diego Lopes in an interesting position. He lost, he got the title fight against Alexander Volkanovski, competed well, but wasn't really close to winning that fight. Maybe that's the top of the mountain. Now he's starting again. We know that a loss here is bad for him, but what does he gain with a win? Is this purely a defend position, fight for Diego Lopes, or is there something for him to gain here other than not losing something?
I mean, he definitely has more to lose than win, obviously. Getting back in the win column is obviously the most important thing. But I think if he wins, I mean, you can make that Yair fight. I think that'd be more of an incentive for Yair to take the fight, especially if he's coming off a win and they're both kind of like Brian. In our rankings, I think Brian Ortega is in the top 5 presently because we haven't redone the rankings since the Shanghai fights. You would imagine he's going to be out of the top 5, if out of the featherweight rankings altogether, and move to lightweight. After that, Volk 1, Mozart 2. I would hazard a guess that like the rest of that lineup would be Diego, Yair, Arnold, Lerone, Jean Silva in some sort of order. Arnold Allen, I don't think is 100% right now. I know Patricio said he wanted to fight him. Arnold wasn't ready on Patricio's timeline. I don't think Patricio is going to fight Jean Silva just yet, though he seems down to fight anybody. If Diego wins, I guess you could finally do the Movsar rematch as an actual number 1 contender fight, because if Movsar beats Diego and the UFC wants him to fight for the belt, which they obviously do not, then just give it to him. If Diego beats Movsar, then he's right there back in the title hunt. But I'm working these scenarios out in a world where Lerone is locked in for the featherweight title. Aljamain's not fighting for the belt anytime soon. Arnold's not healthy. I have no idea what Yair is doing right now. So if Diego wins impressively, and him and Yair are both coming off wins, that is a good main event. The UFC historically goes to Mexico in the first quarter of 2020, in the first quarter of every year. So if they keep that trend and go to Mexico in 2026, that should be your main event between Yair and Diego, but who knows if that actually happens.
Honestly, I think you're probably dead on. I think that fight is the fight that happens with a Diego win. And then if Lerone wins, suddenly Diego is right in the title conversation, because apparently Movsar does not exist. He doesn't get to be involved in title fights. It's incredible.
Lerone winning the title. He hasn't fought anyone in the top 10 outside of Josh Emmett, right?
Josh Emmett, to my knowledge. I think that's it.
That's a whole lot of fresh matchups for a title shot. It would be very interesting if Lerone became champion.
Yeah, I guess they'd probably let Volk run right back at him, but
yeah, I would 100%.
We'll see.
I bet they could do another UK pay-per-view, especially if Tom beats Cyril and you Tom Lerone 1-2 at the top, 2 champs defending. I also think that we all like Jean Silva and Diego are maniacs. September to December is a quick turnaround between 5-round fights. I know Lerone just fought in August, quick fight. I think time-wise, Lerone gets it, and Jean Silva could fight for the title. Like if Jean Silva wins, he could absolutely fight for the title next, but not in December, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally makes sense. Could be what happens. It may also just be whoever says yes, the UFC says, who you both got it, who says yes first and doesn't complain. Could be one of those. We'll see. But who's going to get that crack? Because I mean, we've been going for a while and we still got a few more things to chat about before we get to the questions. So prediction time, Jose. Main event, Noche UFC. Who you got coming out with the dub on Saturday at where are they in San Antonio? Frost Bank Center in San Antonio. Who's getting their hand raised?
My gut says Diego. I think Jean Silva is an awesome fighter, and this fight is one of those rare occasions where it makes sense rankings wise, and it's a sick fight. I don't think either one has a whole lot of glaring weaknesses. Jean Silva, certainly his biggest weakness has been just making it to the scale, because it was pretty hairy for a minute in Miami when he had to reweigh in a second time, and I know he missed. Did he miss against Charles Jourdain? Then he had to move up to fight Drew Dober, a lightweight, to prove himself, and then he went back down to featherweight. So thick featherweight seemed to make this one no problem for Noche for his first 5-rounder. I just think Diego, it's better competition. I think has proven that he has that uncrackable chin that Canelo has. Jean Silva historically does a lot of damage by opening you up with a lot of a lot of those looping punches that end up you just open up, cracks you, grabs the neck, chokes you out. I don't think that's going to happen to Diego. I just think Diego is he's a wild, intelligent fighter. I also love how in an interview he did with Guilherme, he's like, I don't want the easy path to victory. That sounds like a bad decision against Jean Silva, because if he touches your chin once, you very well could be going to sleep. Diego Lopes has also done a lot of training with the Oklahoma State wrestling team, because he said his jiu-jitsu world class, striking and boxing, not on the same level as jiu-jitsu, but very good for MMA. He goes, my problem is offensive grappling and getting it to the canvas. If he actually did put in the work like he has been showing, I interviewed him when he was here at Fanatics Fest, and he could not. He's like, I am at the Oklahoma State wrestling training facility every day with my wrestling shoes on, my singlet on, and just training, drilling. We saw what that did for Damian Maia. He looks like a totally different fighter the second he learned how to do blast double takedowns. I'm not saying Diego is going to submit Jean Silva, but this could be a very different style of fighter from Diego that we've seen from previous fights. I just think Diego gets it done. I think it'll be a decision, though. I think both of these men are too talented, too tough, too durable, and too skilled to be finished in the Fight Night main event.
I mean, you could do a lot worse than training with David Taylor to learn how to wrestle. Olympic gold medalist.
He's very good wrestler. Very good wrestler.
Pretty good at the old wrestling going on there. I have to pick Jean Silva. He's my boy, and I will continue. I think that this fight is a hugely problematic for him, because Diego Lopes is enormous. Like, he's just going to be comically large in there, incredibly durable, and has such like a proficient grappling game that could absolutely just be a real big bag of snakes for Jean Silva to have to deal with. I will also, just to point out, as you were talking to, Jean Silva did miss weight against Charles Jourdain. I don't think the Drew Dober fight was fighting at lightweight to prove himself. It was just 2 weeks later. So it was just a lightweight because he fought literally 2 weeks later. And so it's like, I can't do that again. But just for that. But despite that, still like not the biggest featherweight, even though he's had some struggles on the scale. And Diego Lopes is a gigantic featherweight who never seems to struggle on the scale. He's one of those dudes. This fight's a heater. I'm super pumped to watch it. It is like the perfect amuse-bouche for Canelo Crawford to get us pumped as we ramp into that. I'm going to say that my issue for Diego is that he leads with his chin, and that's real fun, but also can get you lumped up in real bad ways. And Jean Silva's a dude who can lump you up. So I'm going to pick the Fighting Nerds to get back on track after a tough month, and Jean Silva to punch his ticket, literally and metaphorically, to a featherweight title shot. Odds makers, our friend at FanDuel, Jean Silva -260. The comeback on Diego Lopes +205. Another big storyline. I mean, look, there's a co-main event for this. It's Rob Font versus David Martinez, which is actually a fight that I very much like, but
I like that fight a lot.
We don't really need to focus on it as a co-main event, because a bigger story happened earlier today, Jose. Weigh-ins, always fun. You were just talking about Jean Silva missing weight, but you know what? That's not who missed weight for this particular event. I'd like to shout out our dear friend Alexander K. Lee, who is the weigh-in king, loves them anyway. And if you go to MMAfighting.com right now, great website, he chose the most unflattering picture possible for one Kelvin Gastelum, who came in a healthy 5 pounds over the middleweight weight limit. 191 pounds he tipped the scale at confidently. By the way, he didn't get up there on death's doorstep. He got up there and power flexed to let you know that he was not making 186 whatsoever. Jose, Kelvin historically obviously had a ton of trouble making welterweight, moved up to 185. Now we've got this thing happening ahead of his battle with Dustin Stoltzfus. Apparently that fight is set to go on. I believe there's a considerable purse fine going towards Kelvin, but it seems like the fight will continue forward. What do we make of Kelvin Gastelum? Like, what the heck's going on here, Jose?
I don't know, man. I have no idea. He's not a big. This is like when Johnny Hendricks went up to middleweight and was like, I might miss, I miscalculated. Miscalculating is one thing. 5 pounds is a lot. And he didn't look like he was.
He just clearly didn't try, dude. Like he clearly was just like, I don't care.
I don't get it, man. Because I talked to him on the red carpet when he was going into the Hall of Fame, and he said, "I want to fight on Noche." Like he was like, "That's when I want to come back." I'm like, yeah, I had a bad performance against Joe Pyfer. I want to return at Noche. He called a shot. The UFC gave him the opportunity, and then this happened. I do not understand it. But at the same time, it's Kelvin, and he had that show where he would talk about like his post, like the food he would eat between fights, and it was never healthy. So I have no idea. I see doing a whole lot of traveling over the last year or so, traveling the world, going to Mexico and Japan and Thailand and Korea and everything. So maybe he's just enjoying life a little too much. I don't know. But I was very surprised by this. Half a pound is one thing, and if you look like death, that's one thing. 5 pounds is a light heavyweight. That is a light heavyweight.
Just honestly, I did not anticipate it because he's never. I can't remember him having any issues at middleweight because he shouldn't. Reasonably, he's a welterweight. Like he has and should be able to make that with relative consistency. And then to blow this bad, I know that the Daniel Rodriguez fight, that was a middleweight fight because he botched his welterweight cut so bad that they just renegotiated it. But
like a lot of people, I didn't give him a pass, but a lot of people were like, "Oh, flying to Saudi Arabia is tough and this and that." Like anyone, like you're fighting in San Antonio in a place that you asked to fight. I can't reiterate that enough.
Yeah, I mean, really, really ridiculous. Good for old Dustin Stoltzfus, though. Apparently a 35% purse fine. And Kelvin makes a good chunk of money. This isn't a contender series 35% that Dustin will be getting. So I guess credit for him, but it's not what I anticipated having happen this morning. Wild times. Jose, before we get out, 2 more things. One, arguably the best fight on the card outside of the co-main event. I mean, not even arguably, probably the actual best fight of the card outside of the co-main event. Certainly the only one featuring 2 top 10 fighters in their weight class. Buried on the prelims as women's strawweights do battle. Tatiana Suarez takes on Amanda Lemos. Don't know why this is on the prelims, but just very quickly on this fight, given sort of the lay of the strawweight land right now, what with Zhang Weili moving up to challenge Valentina Shevchenko later this year and a title fight happening, are these 2 women fighting for a title shot right now? Because I kind of think they are.
I absolutely think, especially if it's Mackenzie Dern wins, how long has the UFC been trying to make Mackenzie Dern versus Tatiana Suarez? Like they've booked that like
10 years, twice. It feels like.
Yeah, like that seems to be the fight they want so badly, to the point where they booked the fight and just hasn't crossed the line. I even think Mackenzie Dern said, like, if she wins and Tatiana wins, like that's the fight she wants. Yes, if 100% that this is a very realistic world, and I know there's some other women that have some big fights coming up, but Tatiana is still a name in this division. She's still the boogie woman as far as a lot of fans. I know she might have just fought the greatest strawweight of all time and just lost to a lot of people lose to.
Might have just fought the greatest female fighter of all time, not even greatest strawweight of all time,
That too.
Might happen.
Even just rankings wise, like we all agreed that it did not matter who was fighting. It was Verna versus fill in the blank. If it was for a vacant title, Verna versus whoever. We all assumed it would be Mackenzie Dern because the UFC has really wanted her in a title fight for a very long time, whether it was for an interim or a vacant title. And then when they announced that fight, we were like, yeah, obviously. Just ranking-wise, I would imagine Weili is still number 1 technically, and then Verna Tatiana is probably like 2, 3 in some order. And then after that, it's like Yan Xiaonan, Lemos, Dern. I know Lupi just got that big win.
In fact, so we're clear, you absolutely spiked the UFC rankings. It is exactly.
Is that it? All right, good.
It's Weili, Verna, Tatiana, Yan, Lemos, Dern.
There you go. It's not that difficult, right? And then after that, like
Lupi, you nailed it.
Lupi, Yasmin,
and Lupi is 6. That's 6 and 7. Yeah. You're on a roll, kid. They've all fought each other, so it's pretty easy to do the rankings.
Is Jillian, Jessica? I mean, Jillian is kind of on a tear right now.
Jillian is 10.
If Jillian gets another stoppage win, though, she should be within reaching distance of the title fight just based off of wins alone, because getting stoppage wins at strawweight is a rare sight to begin with, and getting a lot in a row is an even rare sight. I think Jillian is very much a dark horse for a title shot moving forward. I think and even Angie, I know Angie's been fighting fights, like Angie could fight 3 times in the next 3 months and all of a sudden get 3 wins and be in the conversation too. Loma's still doing the thing. I think Amanda Hebos is taking some time off. Tapia Ricci she just knocked out Hebos. And then Tisha Tennington is still doing her thing. So, but yeah, you'd have to imagine the winner of this could absolutely fight the winner, especially if there's a big fight in LA in the early quarter of 2025. Mackenzie Dern, Tatiana Suarez makes a whole lot of sense to be at least on that card, especially if it's the first big Paramount card. 3 title fights in Los Angeles. One of them, Mackenzie Dern versus Verna versus Tatiana / Lemos. Let's do it.
It's so weird that this is buried on the prelims, because looking at it, it's just like, yeah, Tatiana's an enormous favorite, probably is going to win, and given the lay of the land, is going to fight for the belt next. Why is she buried on the prelims? Makes no sense to me whatsoever. One last thing on this card before we throw it to the peeps, because we've been going for about an hour. There are a lot of fights in this card, Jose. In fact, let me make sure I'm not a total asshole. I believe that the number of fights is 14. Is that true? There are, in fact, 14 fights on this card. Whole lot of them. We've talked about 2 of them. We briefly mentioned the co-main event. You can wax poetic on that, but pick one of the other 12 undiscussed fights. Your low-key banger of the week, the fight you're the most interested in that we haven't talked about already.
Well, our own AK Lee would probably be very upset if one of us didn't mention. I think the very first fight of the entire night is the tough welterweight finale that didn't correct Chicago. So, just for our colleague's sanity, we can finally put a nail in the coffin of that season. And he seems to be, not even seems to be, AK is the czar of the Ultimate Fighter. So, out of respect for our colleague, I have to say that. Outside of that, I mean, it's the King of Texas, Alexander Hernandez versus Carlos Diego Ferreira. I said this on BTO, I love wacky shit like that. Like one fighter just being like, I'm from Brazil and I train in Texas, and he's from Texas and trains in Colorado. So we're fighting for the King of Texas at lightweight, because Texas is basically its own country already. So if any other state in the country is going to have a monarchy, it's probably going to be Texas. So why not make this fight between Alexander Hernandez versus Diego Ferreira, the King of Texas? I hope there's a crown involved. Or just a 10-gallon hat with a giant buckle on the top. That seems more fitting for the King of Texas.
I mean, this is 100% the right call. That fight is very weird. It's very goofy, and it's also just going to be a heater. So it's just 2 dudes are going to be a heater. Shout out obviously to AK and his belief in Danil Dunchenko. Alice Pereira making her UFC debut, youngest woman ever, 19-year-old. I think, does she get the same treatment as 19-year-old Raul Rosas Jr.? Is she 19-year-old?
Well, if you base it off of the social reactions, it's not even in the same realm. Raul Rosas was already a way bigger deal right now than
that's good, because I'll be honest, calling her 19-year-old feels weird, and we shouldn't do that. I don't know why we did it with Raul, but it worked. Don't like it for this. Co-main event's awesome, and I do just want to shout it out. We briefly did, but Rob Font coming off a win over Jean Matsumoto, a guy off Contender Series who I think has a super bright future. Really fun fight, like a great veteran performance. He's getting no easy breaks, and basically the exact same fight. David Martinez, a Contender Series guy with a lot of promise, and it's just like, hey, we know you just did this. Do it again. I need you to do it again. He's being reverse mulliganed here for this co-main event, and Dave Martinez is super fun guy, and so I think that this probably like not a co-main event in the traditional sense, but it's going to be really fun. And I want to see if Rob Font can continue to hold the gates of the top 15 from these kind of young up and comers, because they're going to keep making him do it. And thus far, he's been pretty good at holding that gate. So we'll see if he can do it again. Fight's going to be a banger.
Yeah.
Casey, get on in here. Tell us what you're looking forward to the most on this Noche UFC card, and then we'll throw it to the peeps for questions.
What am I looking forward to? I guess Alice Pereira, mostly because she's a bantamweight. If she wasn't a bantamweight, I'll be kind of questioning, why is she in the UFC? I mean, 5-0 is great. She should be happy, but I realized, she's a 5'10". I think she's 5'10" bantamweight. So she is a
real bantamweight.
She's a real bantamweight. She's a big lady, and let's see. So I guess women's bantamweight is the thinnest division in the UFC. So that would make sense that's why she's here. So her, and of course, Tatiana and Lemos. I don't repeat what you guys said, but I have no idea why it's so buried on the prelims. That makes zero sense. But that's the fight I'm looking forward to, and and other fights, they're good. It's two Brazilians headlining a UFC Noche, so cool.
That's right.
Tatiana is gonna be such a weird. Tatiana is gonna go from a like random fight night booking against. I guess she was the co-main event against Jessica Andrade to co-main event on a pay-per-view title fight, prelims on a Noche, co-main event on a pay-per-view title fight. Like that is going to be how this goes for her. It's a very curious sandwich that she has found herself in. Probably not ideal promotion, if I'm being honest.
And no one watched her fight with Jessica Andrade because it was the same day as Nate Diaz, Jake Paul.
Oh my God, I forgot that. Oh my God, I forgot that. Jeez.
Yeah.
Tough scenes.
Does Tatiana have the most to lose on this card?
Yes, probably. Well, that depends. I mentioned this yesterday on BTL. Jose Daniel Medina and Dusko Todorovic are they're in a straight pink slip derby. So the loser of that's getting their walking paper because they're both on 3-fight losing streaks. I will actually say, though, no to Tatiana Suarez now because the answer is now undeniably Kelvin Gastelum. If he blows weight the way he did, he already had a lot to lose anyway. He's got to just be stone done if he loses this fight now.
I guess maybe the better question is, if Tatiana loses tomorrow night, is the hype over?
No, because I think Amanda Lemos is very, very good at MMA. She just ran it. Like the only one she's looked terrible against is Jessica Andrade and Wei Li, and they're two of the greatest ever.
Yeah.
And I don't. And like what do we say? Amanda is like the number 3 or 2 ranked, 4 ranked.
4. They're both top 5. They're both top 5 ranked.
I think it'll set her back a minute, but I think losing to someone as talented as Amanda isn't a blow. I think it's why it's so strange this is so far down on the card, because these are two of the most talented female fighters in the world.
Mm-hmm. This fight is the best fight on paper of the event.
Oh, yeah.
It's the 4 versus 5, whereas Diego Lopes is like 3 versus 10 or whatever.
Yeah,
so it's absolutely wild stuff.
Right.
I've seen some super chats pour in. Let's get to those and then fire your questions in, boys. We'll go for 10, 15-ish, depending, and then get out of here because we've got weigh-ins and all sorts of things to manage. But Casey, let's do the damn thing.
Oops, sorry about that. That's way too tiny.
It's so small. ZX Vexation, tell the higher-ups I stopped donating unless the sleeves come back off. Casey, you know what? Let's get them a little plato plomo. We can incentivize them with the cash. I will go tarps off if you don't get to go sleeves off, and nobody wants that.
Is that a special shirt, Casey?
Yes, it is. Japanese special shirt. yes. So I got my two-tone. Okay, I can't see behind me. So,
What are you just ska walking all the way to weigh-ins?
Yeah.
Skanking?
Skanking. Yeah. We just skull walking.
Yeah. I was never part of that world. I just saw kids doing it and be like, what? This is such a peculiar thing.
Oh,
Like, your music is bad.
I've skanked a time or two.
Oh yeah.
I never have.
Dude, I'm a big fan of the two. I'm a big fan of the two-tone. Big fan of the two-tone. But I will clip this.
Fixation.
I will clip this and I will send it to the kings,
powers
that be at the penthouse of Vox Tower.
His name is Vincent Vox.
Let them know.
Thank you. Hold on a second. Oh, Sleeto.
We love Sleeto. Sleeto! Lug Thomas mentioned multiple press passes getting revoked, maybe, at the request of Saudi. Does this have anything to do with the way Dana was getting absolutely cooked at the press conferences? So, I don't know if this was confirmed, but it sure looked like, based on some very reputable people, that a number of press passes, specifically boxing scene, I know was a major one of them, got their credentials to Canelo Crawford revoked this week. Though I believe that happened before the presser yesterday, so this would not be related. But y'all have any thoughts on that? Because sure didn't look great. Optics were bad at the very least.
I don't think they're related. I think they happen to happen at the same time. I think Saudi, and again, this is all allegedly, pulled his credentials, and Dana got quote unquote cooked by the boxing media. Because as I said when we were talking, boxing fans don't take Dana White very seriously. I can't imagine the boxing media takes Dana White too seriously. And I know there's some great boxing reporters that don't take Turkey and Riyadh season seriously, and not only don't take them seriously, but have been very outspoken against what they're trying to do in boxing, and their dialogue is much more informed and educated than mine, so I'm not going to be able to speak on it as well as they are. That they took this opportunity to ask what they should have asked in a way I think we all agreed the question probably could have been shortened a bit, but the intention was there, and I thought it was a great question.
Yeah, it was two different. Yeah, sorry.
No, go.
Yeah. The question's kind of asking two different things. The question at the press conference by what is his name? Sean Zito? I forget. Do you know his name?
I think it's Zito. Something like that. Sorry if I got that wrong, man.
He's also a very nice gentleman. I've met him a few times at New York events. I always like chatting with him in line. Yeah,
a very it was a timely question. He asked, "Is the right place, right time to ask a question like that?" And and all the bad reaction that the fans are giving Dana for that, the way he handled that is due. And
dude, he handled it so badly.
So badly.
I don't know how you're supposed to handle it well, but he did not do it well.
But at the same time, was anyone surprised at how he handled it? That is just what we've kind of become accustomed to, right? Like the MMA world. Like when I heard that, I was like, great question. And then I heard the response. I'm like, yeah, I've heard this enough times to know that's exactly how Dana was going to react to that.
Yeah, just like
what I don't.
It's not a good answer.
I even saw some MMA media being like, "There's a time and place, and this is not." I'm like, that is so incorrect.
There is a time and place
at a press conference.
Of them. Yeah. It was at that exact time and place. Yeah. The only way it could have been better is if when Dana was like, "Hey, do you have a question for them?" He was like, "Yes." Yeah, Canelo and Terence, what do you think about somebody trying to get rid of the protections for you? Yeah. Yay or nay? It would have been the only way better to do it.
Yeah, that's the only thing. It's like, oh, yeah. But it's. I mean, you've asked questions at big pressers. There's lots of your screen, your face is on the giant screen. It's a big press conference, and I get nervous. I mean, so
I hate it. And your voice is always, the voice on the speakers is always 3 seconds after you talk. So you
T-Mobile,
right? Because you're like blah, blah, and then all of a sudden you forget your thing. I hate it. It's like media day. I can do. Once the press conference is done, I'm like, got through that.
Yeah, but thank you, Sleeto. Yes, and not a good look for everyone involved, except Sean. He did great.
You know, I'll at the risk of saying something that might be bad, that's one of the better outcomes that can happen if you're, press and dealing with Saudi Arabia. So I guess that's better than some of the alternatives that have existed out
Home
there.
of WrestleMania.
Oh yeah, apparently that's happening. Yeah, I mean, I don't know why, because also why even revoke press? You can just do what Dana did, but allegedly that has happened. I guess maybe we'll find out more as things go on. Also, just so we're clear, per various levels of reporting, it seems that this was not a decision that TKO was happy with. Yeah. And I trust the various things I saw on this, so that this truly was not from, Dana and TKO company, but from the money men behind the scenes. So, but thank you for your questions, Lito.
The only times lately I've heard them not giving credentials out, and I have never heard the UFC taking credentials away on the spot. It's always like if you have a bad media day, they let you finish up fight week, and then they just don't credential you the next time. Does that make sense? They just don't let you, and it's not because some reporters I've seen not back, and it's because they just were were unprofessional. Like they are asking fighters for photos, or asking questions that were inappropriate, and I'm fine with that.
Or just your general behavior, kind of backstage and things like that. Yeah.
Walking into rooms that you're not supposed to and trying to do interviews where you're not supposed to.
But that was made that press conference fun.
Good on Sean though.
Yeah. Super chat from Chase. Thank you.
Is this the one I think it is, where I'm gonna have to edit? Yeah. Okay.
Oh, he.
I mean, he did, but for the reading of it, is it not insane for Dana to say he wants fighters he can trust for the White House card, then also say he wants (parentheses) Conor McGregor to headline the card? That's how we're going to phrase that for the podcast listeners. If you want the actual words, check out the YouTube. So this is, Dana's been doing a big media tour and multiple different sources this week. He's been talking about it and just being like, yeah, I can't trust John. But I can absolutely trust Conor to headline the White House card. And honest to God, I'll give Dana as much shit as anybody. This is one where I get it. I don't think he should trust Conor, frankly, but I absolutely get him not trusting John to headline the UFC White House card. Am I crazy for that? Because that feels like I totally think he should not put John Jones on that card. I think that creates a big opportunity for things to go haywire for him.
Why not? Why not John?
Because
I think Dana's still salty that he dragged the Tom Aspinall thing out and then eventually just didn't take it. I think Dana's
but
you don't have to think that. He basically said that outright. For me, Casey, the thing is for this event is so unique and so important that you can't risk any possible kink getting thrown into it. Pay-per-views are important and meaningful, but they've moved a pay-per-view to California for John before. There are ways around it. But if John stubs his toe a week out and is like, bro, I'm not fighting, which could happen, it's John, or John gets arrested, or any number of other things. John is just too volatile for an event like this, where
pay-per-views aren't going to
you're probably doing it once. What?
Pay-per-views aren't going to exist next year.
Yeah, well, also that. But this is just such a unique
I know what you're saying.
Yeah, you should have the most secure thing. Old Conor, absolutely, because Conor never pulled out. I wouldn't trust Conor for shit now. I don't agree.
Well, I guess that's the question. This is new Conor. This isn't.
No, yeah,
old Conor.
That part is wrong. You should not trust Conor, but don't trust John. Absolutely, don't trust John.
Geez, I don't. They're the same to me. As far as
again, yes, yeah. I'm saying don't trust either of them.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Don't trust either. Okay.
I wouldn't trust either of them. I'm just with Dana being I don't trust John. I think the trusting Conor is also insane. Trust Alex Pereira. He'll show up and fight. That dude is the guy that you pin your hopes to.
Do we have to put an American to?
Yeah.
If
Connor headlines, it's going to be Michael Chandler.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I still believe it's. I feel I'm not confident, but like I still think it's going to be Connor Michael Chandler, because at the end of the day, it's going to be what President Donald Trump wants, and you can't convince me Donald Trump knows 6 fighters, but he knows Connor, and he'll be like, I want Connor to fight, and they're going to try and make it happen, and we'll see if it works.
Do you think there's a world this doesn't happen, this event?
Yeah.
Yes.
Big time.
Me too.
I think it's extreme. I said this immediately, that the most likely outcome is that it doesn't happen on the White House lawn on Independence Day. It happens like a few blocks away, like the week before, the same way that Fight Island was this big cool thing, and then it was just Yas Arena, which they'd already been to. This is just like, this is just like kind of a thing that they'll spend. But
it's already not going to be Independence Day. It's already a week before. They've already announced that, right?
Yeah.
Is it already?
It's not. Yeah, they already said it's not going to be Independence Day. So it's just,
That's so stupid.
Do you think
it would
the
have been
current
perfect
climate
for Independence Day?
Do you think the current climate of the United States is going to affect all that?
I don't know. I have no idea what the climate of the United States will be like in
next
months.
week. Next week.
Yeah.
Do you think the current president will make it that far?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say yes.
Oh, man. Thank you, Chase.
Also, by next year, it could be President Conor McGregor fighting at UFC
true.
White House, which would be incredibly funny.
That's true.
I'm very glad I got to use that sound drop. Oh man, this is all right. One more super chat before we go to the normie questions. We got some 14 czars from
let's call
Super Noob.
Let's call them Clark questions.
Yeah,
Clark questions. Clark chat.
Okay. Super semi noob. Do you guys think Kelvin is trying to get fired?
I see.
Probably
this
not.
is a good question. No,
but it's
this
a
is
good question.
Because when he missed, and then I saw the weigh-in, I'm like, does Kelvin just want to go get into the boxing world and just go box Terence Hill over in Misfits and make a whole bunch of money? I was like, he might. That's not a bad, I don't think he is, but it's not an unfair question to ask someone, because he didn't look like he was overly upset about missing weight when he weighed in.
Yeah, he didn't look at all upset, which is a shame, because if I was losing 35% of what I'm assuming is like $300,000 as a paycheck, I'd be pretty bummed. If you were just like, hey, guess what? You are no longer making $100,000. I'd be like, well, shucks. That's not cool. But he didn't seem to care.
Yeah, and because he fought in June, and then he had was it June? Yeah, beginning of June, and then for Kelvin he had that quick turnaround to September, which is normally not that crazy, but for Kelvin I think it is. It reminded me of when Anthony Pettis took a bunch of fights really quickly apart against fighters that we were surprised. Like we fought Alex Morono, we were like, why are you fighting Alex Morono? It's because he was trying to get through his contract quickly. I mean, I'm not saying that's what Kelvin is doing. I have no idea what his contract situation is, but it wouldn't surprise me if that came out. I wouldn't be floored.
Honestly, Kelvin can go immediately to Misfits and do that whole thing. So
he's got good hands.
Still have a career. Got good hands and a good quality chin. He could probably do a lot of good things over there. So maybe it's not a terrible, not insane question. Not one I'd considered at all. But the sheer cavalierness with which he weighed in was like brazen to me. It's like, holy shit, he does not look like he cares at all.
Kelvin just trying to rematch Chris Weidman in boxing, Darren Till in boxing, finally getting to fight Anderson Silva in boxing, fight Vitor Belfort rematch in boxing. I'm like, oh my God, Kelvin just run the gamut right there. Make a whole
get
bunch of
paid
money.
handsomely. So maybe. Well, you know what? We'll keep an eye out, Super Semi Noob. If he really wants to get his walking papers, he should lose to Dustin Stolfitz. That'll do it. That'll do it.
All right. Thank you. I don't know if we talked about this, but I think we all have pretty good opinions.
Kellerman is a pathetic sellout. One of the grosser things I've seen, which is saying a lot. It was super weird. If you don't know what we're talking about, Max Kellerman, like super oddly, because the presser was functionally over, like that we were moving towards we're gonna be done here, and Kellerman just hops in and is like, "Y'all all need to understand that these two men are saving this sport." I'm trying to remember the exact phrase.
If they weren't born,
I would say almost the direct statement was, none of us would be here if Turkey wasn't born. You should all thank your stars that he was born and we can be here. Dana White is the greatest promoter of my lifetime, and you guys want an NBA, he's going to bring an NBA of boxing. It was such a sick, like the check must have been big. And he was sitting there on the stage and like pulled up his Wells Fargo account and was like, "Oh shit, check cleared, baby, let's go."
Or the check wasn't big enough, and he's like, "Can I have a little bit more? Can I have a job? Because I'm not with ESPN anymore." So, man,
he heard Turkey be like, "I'm giving Canelo more than $100 million," and Max was like, "Let me see if I can get involved in that," because, I mean, it was servile to the nth degree.
And the situation was weird too, because like the presser at that point, it was a long presser. It was like 35 minutes and almost 40 minutes into the presser. Kellerman hasn't been up there the entire time. He did the undercard presser. He just kind of came up there, and then Dana's like, they kind of whispered some stuff, and then he got on the podium.
The crowd was aggressively booing him, and Canelo was like, "Bro, quit being weird. You're being a real goon right now. Quit that."
Also, you could tell the prelim press conference, he was like, "Can we get some good questions?" Like just out loud to all the boxing media. Such a weird scene, man. Like MMA reporters, like, we're used to the circus, and you could very clearly tell that boxing media has never had to go through what we have been having to go through for the last X amount of years. So it was interesting to see them squirm under like how rigid and formulaic a lot of it could be.
Yeah.
It was real weird. I haven't felt something that weird in quite some time.
Yeah. And going back to the presser.
Oh, and also, we did Turkey. Then after Max got done glazing everybody and telling fans booing and support the future of boxing, which was just like, whenever you're chiding fans, that's when you know you're doing really good. Like, oh, you're telling the fans how to feel. You're doing great, kid. Then Turkey was very quiet the whole time. It's kind of weird. And then he was like, and Dana has an announcement. And Dana was like, "We're going to face these dudes off."
And Turkey just looks like, what?
Turkey looked, and then Dana like, "We're going to face them off," and then said something. Clearly, whatever that announcement did not get solidified. But it was a real weird presser yesterday, man. It was real weird stuff all around.
Yeah, it had everything. I felt, it was weird.
Warship, have we seen a title challenger go to the prelims after losing a title bout? Jose, this is your wheelhouse. I'm almost certainly this has happened.
No, I want, before Jose names off 4 or 5 of them, I would nominate right now Liz Carmouche. Liz Carmouche didn't go to the prelims. She got released after she lost to Shevchenko. She wasn't re-signed, or whatever you want to call it.
I think it was, not re-signed. Functionally released.
Functionally released, yeah. But I'm sure there had to be some other ones.
Dude, probably most female title challengers, like generic title challengers. Like, I can't imagine Caitlin Sermonara and Nate Chukagian was like main card fighter after she lost to Chevy. There's almost no way, right?
I think Alexis Davis went from fighting Ronda to fighting on the early
Also,
prelims.
that would totally track.
Basically, a lot of the. It seems like a lot of the women's title challengers to get really.
Oh, I nailed it. I nailed it. Chukagian fought Anthony Shevchenko on the prelims after she lost to Chevy. She fought the other Shevchenko on the prelims of an Apex card.
I think.
Wow.
I think Sarah
It's
McMahon
COVID,
went from fighting Ronda to fighting on one of the first couple fights in Bangor, if I remember correctly.
Jesus.
I was at that fight. It's the only reason I know. Against Lauren Murphy, she debuted against Sarah McMahon.
Any of the more the money weight classes for the UFC? Any like lightweights or?
You could convince me heavyweights because they randomly bury like ranked heavyweight fights as well. But also the like most recent heavyweights have been the same like 6 dudes fighting for a belt. So I doubt Derek Lewis ever did that. Curtis Blades, where did he fight after he lost to Tommy?
In Baku.
Was he
in like the co-main event?
Oh yeah, he was the co-main against Kuniev. That's right. Yeah. I'm sure it's happened to not just the women's weight classes, but it's definitely never like welterweight. It's going to be like flyweight. I would bet a lot of money some flyweight did. Like probably half of DJ's wins did that. Just straight up, like Ray Borg.
Wait,
almost certainly was doing that.
Yeah, Chris Carey also went to. Yeah, I'm sure Chris Carey also went to the Facebook prelims after that.
Yeah, something like that. But it's not often, and it is weird given that they like Tatiana Suarez.
Yeah, that's the weirdest one. This is by far. The other ones kind of made sense, I guess. This one
they didn't like him. They like Tatiana, and she might fight for the belt again, like tomorrow.
So it's a weird one.
Very, very strange. Casey, do we have one more question before we get out of here?
I think we're good.
So we don't end on a downer.
Oh, is that a downer? All right. Okay. Positive. Molly McCann's fighting this weekend.
Molly McCann is fighting this weekend.
So is Yoel Romero. So is Gable Steveson.
Oh yeah, Gable
Steveson fighting tonight. So
that's
it's
UFC.
a big weekend of combat sports. We don't need another one because we just got to say Gable Steveson, who, the best prospect in MMA now. As soon as he actually steps into MMA.
So, we'll see.
God knows heavyweight needs it, and there are few people more athletic than that human being on the whole planet. And if he can take a punch at all, he's probably going to fight for a UFC belt. If he can't, he still might because Brock Lesnar couldn't really take punches, and he fought and won a UFC title. So Gable could absolutely just do the exact same thing. Gable is going to have Brock Lesnar's career, hopefully with less of the numerous problems outside the cage/ring. And that's it. Ladies and gentlemen, let's be honest, it's probably mostly gentlemen. We've done it. Canelo Crawford, Noche UFC. They're going down 24 hours, less than 24 hours from now. There will not be a pregame preview tomorrow. However, there will be a watch-along tomorrow. Me and Mike Heck doing the damn thing for Canelo. And of course, there'll be coverage all day long for all these fights. That's Jose Youngs. That's E. Casey Lyden. I'm Jed Meshew. Keep it locked in. MMAfighting.com. It's a great website. We've got you covered for everything you need. And join us for the post show and the watch party tomorrow. Until then, love y'all.
Bye.
Dipset.